This has Knicks fans absolutely livid, as it has just been revealed in a new report that the New York Knicks tried very hard to land a star defensive center in a trade, which obviously has huge implications as Mitchell Robinson has returned to the floor. But also on top of that, they have been linked to another name who is likely going to be signed by the Knicks within the coming days, and we are going to break all of this down. A lot to talk about. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. Guys, if you're part of that 69% that's not subscribed to Knicks Digest, this is the place to be for all Knicks content. We have a bunch of fun live streams. We're going to get back on that TikTok, YouTube Shorts grind. I'll be honest, TikTok undownloaded from my phone, and, well, I couldn't re-download it for a little bit, but now we'll be back. Guys, let's jump into the video, though. We have a lot to discuss. And the New York Knicks, well, they were doing some interesting things, as this guy right here, who we've talked about a good amount on this channel, came pretty damn close to becoming a Knick a few months ago. And by a few months ago, I mean a month ago at the NBA trade deadline, as the Knicks, they really wanted him. Specifically, Leon Rose really wanted him. Now, just to get things out of the way, first things first, Walker Kessler, CAA client, Aaron Mintz is his agent. Aaron Mintz represents more than one New York Knick. Just wanted to throw that out there before we jump into this. Now, Mark Stein revealed the truth on this, saying the Knicks were right there with the Lakers in their determination before the trade deadline to try to convince Utah to engage in meaningful Walker Kessler trade talks. No dice. The Jazz made it clear that they wanted no part of entertaining Kessler pitches in season. In season, you say. So that means maybe in a few months from now, when the season's over, when we're out of season, perhaps draft night, something like that, maybe it seems more possible. In season is the key word here, because that means this trade is still alive. It means the Knicks are not dead in the water here. It means this trade is alive and well, and the New York Knicks can certainly go out there and still make this deal. It will be tough. It'll cost a lot. But the Knicks wanted to land Walker Kessler really bad, and this is not a new thing. They've wanted Walker Kessler for a long time now. He's a CAA client who they trust, has a big ceiling on him. And you know what? I'm tempted to agree, at least defensively. You take a look at Walker Kessler's numbers, and they're phenomenal. He puts up 11.5 points per game, 12.2 rebounds, blocking 2.3 shots, and getting 0.6 steals per game. That is very good. Very good. On top of that, he has a defensive box plus minus of 0.7 and a VI over replacement player of 1.5. He is a very effective player, shooting 72% from the field, doesn't foul heavily, protects the rim well, gets put back dunks well, gets rebounds really well, and obviously is one of basketball's best shot blockers. Now, Walker Kessler is young, but he's a win-now player, and the Utah Jazz are not a win-now team. They have win-now players like Larry Markkinen, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Walker Kessler. It's unclear why they still have him. I think Danny Ainge is just washed up. Keeping Kessler around makes more sense than any of the other names because he's a lot younger, as he is 23 years old. By next season, he'll obviously be 24 because that's how years work. But on top of that, with the New York Knicks specifically, they don't care about any of those other guys. They care about Walker Kessler. Now, yes, they've been linked to Jordan Clarkson in the past, but Jordan Clarkson would be someone they'd be willing to take on if they traded Mitchell Robinson in the Walker Kessler deal, because the contracts line up pretty well that does make some sense if you want to trade for Walker Kessler, because it does make Mitchell Robinson a little bit more expendable. Now, this makes things very interesting because Mitchell Robinson, who's played 2 games this season, let's make this bigger, has put up 4 points and 3.5 rebounds with 0.5 assists per game while shooting 80% from the field with a 17.5 PER for the season, where he's played 13 minutes per game in these 2 games that he's played. Obviously, these numbers don't mean much. The Knicks are clearly better with Mitchell Robinson. They beat a Miami Heat team, which entailed a major comeback by them. They also beat the Memphis Grizzlies in a really good game. The Knicks have just been good in close games. They've actually been the best team in close games, and a lot of that's because they have Jalen Brunson, who's going to win Clutch Player of the Year, and that's great. We love that. But really, Mitchell Robinson coming back, we've already seen the impact. The defense looks better when he's on the floor. Obviously, it does, like the rim protection, but it just looks more stable. They're defending three-pointers better with Mitchell Robinson on the floor. The team defense, when you have lineups of at the ends of games with Deuce McBride, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Mitchell Robinson just is so lethal because how good they are defensively. There's no holes on defense. anyone who's guarding anyone. You have a bunch of lockdown defenders all over the court. It looks really, really good already. And Mitchell Robinson is a big part of this team. However, we do know that Mitch has dealt with some injuries. That's why he's only played 2 games this season. And on top of that, Walker Kessler has been mainly healthy for his NBA career. He's younger. He's represented by CAA. And on top of that, he's got way more stability on that contract than Mitchell Robinson does. Now, Walker Kessler, let's just take a look at that contract. That's Mitchell Robinson. Here's that contract. He's in his 3rd NBA season. After this, he's got another team option that'll obviously be accepted. And then he's a restricted free agent, meaning that any team that sends him an offer that he accepts, the Jazz have a chance to match that offer for the next 48 hours, which, barring all unlikelihoods, they'd obviously do. So Kessler's going to be in for a big payday soon, and the Knicks want to be able to take him while they can control that payday because it just helps them better in order to make the trade work and make the finances work. And all the apron stuff also has a big impact on that, as the Knicks don't want to go into the second apron. They're not legally allowed to right now, but they will be able to after this season ends. They just still want to avoid it at all costs, which does make some sense. Looking at the Knicks right now, they'd be a lot better if they had Walker Kessler on the team, but now having Mitchell Robinson does make Kessler a little bit of a lesser need for this team. With the Block Nest Monster back, we're already seeing the production. However, he's still coming back slowly, and after this, he's got 1 year left on his contract before he becomes an unrestricted free agent, and the Knicks will have other guys to pay in the near future, like Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges, to where things get a little wonky when you think about how much the Knicks are willing to be paying Mitchell Robinson, if he's going to stick around, if they're going to be willing to pay a guy who's dealt with a bunch of injuries. It raises a bunch of questions that I could very well likely see the answer being the Knicks trade Mitchell Robinson at the trade, not at the trade deadline, over the offseason next summer. I think it does make some sense to do that if you are the New York Knicks. I will say right now, I love Mitchell Robinson. He's my favorite player on the Knicks. I do not want to see him get traded. I just have a feeling the Knicks are going to, based off the way this team is moving and how much Mitch has been in trade talks throughout his NBA career. Something he's said historically has not bothered him at all. Now, the Knicks, instead of making it a trade for Walker Kessler, traded for Delon Wright. Delon Wright shoots 24% from 3, 27% from the field, puts up 2 points per game, 1.6 rebounds, and 1.7 assists this season. His defense is good. His point of attack defense has been very solid, but he's not playing at all, which just begs the question, why do the Knicks not buy him out of his contract? Buy him out, have 2 guys to sign. Sign TJ Warren and sign Moses Brown. Call it a day. Everyone's happy. Yeah, it's not Walker Kessler, but the Knicks tried to trade for him and they failed because the Jazz wouldn't move him. So you can come back to that over the summer. But Delon Wright's a free agent at the end of the year. There's no reason to have Delon Wright who you're not playing. You buy him out. You have 2 open roster spots. You sign TJ Warren and you sign Moses Brown. Now, speaking of Moses Brown, we have some more news on him, as we all know that Ian Begley has mentioned one player on the Knicks' radar to fill its 15th roster spot is Moses Brown. And on top of that, Mark Stein also spoke on that, saying Moses Brown is a candidate for a 10-day contract from New York as the Knicks try to continue to address their need for size. Now, the 10-day contract thing is very important to note here. As well, the Knicks, they could sign someone to a 10-day contract and it won't affect their salary cap in the long run. So they might not be able to re-sign Moses Brown to a 10-day contract, but they would be able to sign him to that veteran prorated minimum salary, which they'd be able to do. And then eventually, towards the very end of the year, they'd be able to sign TJ Warren, or you could flip those 2 around, sign TJ Warren in a few days. They could honestly sign him now, but if you sign him in a few days, you could sign Moses Brown sooner. So you wait a few days because TJ Warren's not some need you have right now. It would just be helpful to have him on the team by the playoffs. So you just wait a little bit, you sign TJ Warren. On top of that, you wait until you can also sign Moses Brown. Then you sign Moses Brown after you buy Delon Wright out. Everybody's happy. Maybe not Delon Wright, but Knicks fans are happy. It makes a lot of sense to do that, especially because that's just the way it feels like things are going. Moses Brown has played 13 games this season, putting up 5.8 points and 3.4 rebounds, had a 22.6 PER, had a phenomenal game with the Dallas Mavericks, but the Mavericks cannot afford to re-sign the 7'2" center, who's been one of the biggest journeymen we've seen in a long time. Brown is a very solid player, deserves a consistent role. The Knicks would have him as their 3rd-string center, which obviously is not the most consistent role, but with Mitchell Robinson not playing heavy minutes, it does give them another true 7'2" rim protector, which the Knicks obviously could use. Brown has been phenomenal for the Westchester Knicks in the G League. For his career in the G League, he's putting up 16 points and 14 rebounds per game. With the Westchester Knicks, he's putting up 15 and 15. Man's phenomenal. He's so talented. He's so underrated. Some team needs to give him a longer-term contract and let him play as a backup center and watch as he actually is an effective player on the team. It's just something that's really bothered me that Moses Brown hasn't gotten this opportunity yet, and I think the Knicks could help do that as, again, if the Knicks do elect, and I'm not saying it's a guarantee, But if the Knicks do elect to trade Mitchell Robinson over the offseason, you still have Ariel Hukporti, who might not play for the rest of the season after he tore his meniscus and got surgery on it. But you could have Hukporti and Moses Brown, and then have a veteran center as well. You have 3 centers. You play Cat at the 4, and then you bring in a veteran center like a Steven Adams. Then you have 2 guys in Ariel Hukporti and Moses Brown. It's a much cheaper option. All of them would make less money combined than what Mitchell Robinson makes, probably by half, which would be huge for the Knicks when they're considering everything around those aprons. So if the Knicks decide to do that, that's what I'm saying. It just makes more sense for the Knicks to consider trading Mitchell Robinson, as much as I don't want them to. So it is something that's going to come up. But on top of everything, Walker Kessler is just someone who they could trade for with that cheap contract. They could basically trade anyone they want. And I'll be honest, they should trade anyone who they could try to trade for Walker Kessler. I mean, I'll be honest, I have no problem with them trading any of the rookies. Pacome Dadier, Tyler Kolek, Ariel Hukporti, Kevin McCullough Jr. Trade any of them. Trade 2 of them. If it gets you Walker Kessler, it's worth it. The guy is a win-now player. The Knicks are a win-now team. They need to ensure that they're trying to win now. Now, who would the Jazz want the most? I would guess Pacome Dadier, because he's the youngest and has the highest potential, is my guess. But give 2 of them, if that's what it takes. Get Walker Kessler by any means over the offseason. You don't have too many picks to work with. Use any first-round picks you do have to work with. If you give Pacome Dadier and a first, and you need to give more, and you throw someone else in there no matter who it is, as long as it's within reason, it's worth it. And Deuce McBride is on the fence of within reason for this. I imagine the Jazz would really try to get him. I could see the Knicks trying to hold off and give more rookies instead, as Deuce obviously has been the X factor for the Knicks this season. He's one of the 2 X factors, the other one being Mitch. So we'll see how all this works out with the New York Knicks. And obviously Moses Brown is someone who we will see the Knicks likely pick up in the coming days to weeks. But guys, let me know what you think down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Knicks.